So it was announced recently that Tesco had made £2.8 billion in profit this year. Now, as people are generally struggling to get by and the cost of living is rocketing, I went up to my local Tesco store to ask you, the people, what you think about this. Tesco had made £2.8 billion in profit this year. Do you think that's fair?
I don't. I think it's a bit of profiteering out of people's misery a little bit. And as I say, we're relatively lucky in the grand scheme of things, but there's so many people who aren't. I'm a teacher, so I see pupils, we've got pupils who are getting supplied, food bank vouchers, where we do lots at Christmas time to make sure they all get Christmas dinner, and they all get. And when you're there's not just one or two, but big groups of society who are struggling like that, and you're having to, society's having to pull together, and it's great that we are, but Tesco making that profit, and there's people going hungry because they can't afford to go and shop, and they're buying the cheapest of the cheap foods, which isn't then healthy, which, there's a poverty cycle there then, isn't there? Yeah.
And what do you think should be done with the profits then? What do you think they should be sort of sharing it, lowering the cost of items, putting it back into the community? What do you think they should do with
I think they need to do both. I think they need to lower the cost of the items for everybody, because then the people who are a bit better off have got more money to put into the economy to go out and eat out or whatever, and spend their money, so that keeps local businesses and things going. But then I think they also should be, liaise with schools, we know where those families with the children in particular who are struggling are. What can you do? And I have to say, we're lucky, we've got a wee co-op near the school, and they're very generous at Christmas time for our pupils, but they're a much smaller company than the likes of Tesco, which I think could make a massive difference.
And obviously the directors are paying themselves sort of £4 and £5 million a year as well. Again, it just doesn't seem fair. What's your opinion on that?
No, I don't think it's fair. It's totally it's rubbing salt in the wound, I think, really for a lot of people who are saying, well, I'm not turning on the heating, or got elderly people who are wrapping themselves up in blankets and frightened to turn on the heating and do stuff, who aren't getting to go out because they can't afford to pay for the costs of a nice meal or whatever. And then and really I wonder how hard their day's work actually is compared to firefighters, nurses, etc., and how sort of how much of a toll that work actually takes on them compared to all the essential service workers that we have.
Now, obviously, Tesco have announced this year that they've made £2.8 billion in profits. Do you think that's fair?
I didn't know that.
Do you think that's fair under the current sort of circumstances?
Billion, did you say?
Billion, yeah.
No, really not.
No.
If they're making that much profit, they could spread it out a bit.
Exactly. And obviously directors are paying themselves £4 and £5 million a year as well. I mean, do you think that's fair when everybody else is struggling?
No particularly, no.
No.
I do think a little bit more levelling out would help.
One of the announcements that had come out recently was Tesco had made £2.8 billion in profit this year.
Yeah.
Do you think that's fair, or do you think that should maybe be spread back to the customers to bring down the cost a wee bit maybe?
Well, I think 2.8 billion does sound a lot,
It's
doesn't
a lot.
it? So, I would think...
I mean, the directors are paying themselves £4 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, directors pay right across the spectrum.
Yep.
It's ludicrous.
Yeah.
I think they can't be doing anything to earn that amount of money, to be honest.
And maybe pass it back to the customers or something like that.
Yeah, having said that, £4 million's a drop in the ocean as far as Tesco's concerned.
I suppose, yeah.
Well, I'm struggling myself. I find day-to-day shopping's getting a bit worse. You have to stock up, and you're not getting brand items for as much as they used to be.
As much as used to, yeah.
And I don't know, it is getting ridiculous. You don't hear anyone not struggling.
Yeah. And is it everyday items? Is it luxury items? What are you noticing the most?
I think everyday items. I think right now the cheapest stuff is like microwave meals, and you can't live off that.
I know it's not nutritional, obviously.
No, it's not. The worst thing for you is the thing people are living off.
Yep.
It's generally terrible.
Obviously, it was announced this year that Tesco had made £2.8 billion in profit. Do you think that's fair?
Fuck no.
What do you think should be done with the profit? Should it be spread? What do you think? Like to reduce maybe people's sort of everyday items? Do you think they should put that back into the business?
Clearly they're making a hell of a profit. I don't see... Well, it's the whole cost of living thing. I thought that was meant to go down. I thought that was meant to be temporary, but it's only gone up and up.
I mean, the directors are paying themselves £4 and £5 million a year.
Yeah, people can't even get a proper house, and they're going around with brand new fucking cars.
Yeah.
Prices are going up. I've got an increase in my pension, which doesn't cover. It really doesn't cover the increases that I'm paying. More in Wi-Fi, more in rent. council tax, you name it. It's all gone up, and the pension increase that I got is the rise of it.
Right, okay. And are you noticing the sort of everyday items and things going up, or is it luxuries? What are you noticing the most?
Everything. Basically,
Everything, yeah.
I mean, I would go and buy ready cooked chicken, which saved my electric or my gas.
Yeah.
It was £5 odds.
Yeah.
Same chicken, only smaller. It's
Yeah.
still the same price. Maybe if they're not cutting the cost, they're cutting the size.
Yeah. And obviously, Tesco had announced this year that they had made
I
£2.8
know.
billion in profits. Do you
I
think?
know.
What do you think should be done with it?
I think it should be invested back into the local community.
To help with the cost of living.
No, even if they invested it back into the local community.
Okay, itself, yeah.
Like cleaning, help to
Yeah.
money towards the council for
Aye.
cleaning, for maintaining gardens, for
Just
keeping
improvement in the
improvement, general improvement.
And then one last question. Obviously, the directors are paying themselves £4 and £5 million a year. Do you think that's fair under the current circumstances?
Listen, the rich will always get richer and the poor will always get poorer. You're not going to change that.
Just asking how you're finding the cost of living at the moment. Are you noticing the prices are going up?
Everything's went up.
Everything. And is it luxury items? Is it sort of everyday
Just
items you're
everyday
noticing?
items.
Everyday, aye. Is it having an effect sort of?
Well, the government turns around and tells us that you need £19,000 to live.
Aye.
But just with this rise, it's only went up to 10.
Oh, geez, oh. So people are starting to notice it, obviously, and feel the pinch.
Well, on top of that, we're getting taxed on it now.
I know. So obviously, Tesco had announced this year they've made £2.8 billion in profits. Do you think that's acceptable under the current circumstances? No. And obviously, directors are paying themselves £4 and £5 million a year. Again, do you think they should be taking this into account? Obviously, people are struggling a wee bit.
It would be, aye.
Yeah. What would you like to see done with the profits? Spread the cost, or?
Well, at least bring the basic stuff down in price. Olive oil, it's up to, well, the size that I get, it's up to £8.55.
Gee whiz.
It's almost 10 quid.
I know one of the announcements that's come out recently is that Tesco has made £2.8 billion in profit this year.
Very surprised.
Yeah. So I'm just asking people, how do you find that? Obviously, with the cost of living, do you think that's fair?
No.
No. What do you think should be done with the profits?
I think you should go back in and bringing the prices back then.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, directors are paying themselves £4 and £5 million a year as well. Whilst obviously people are struggling, do you think that's fair?
No.
As you've heard, people are still finding the cost of living really difficult at the moment. So it's no wonder people are rightfully annoyed at Tesco taking in such huge profits. Some of the suggestions were excellent, however, from lowering the cost of items in the shop to perhaps giving the money back to local councils to invest in the community. So let's see over the next year what Tesco do and how much profit they make next year, and I wonder if they'll take any of our ideas on board. Let's wait and see.